Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Cinema A to B. Today we're going to be talking about the 2023 film Wonka and retelling or beginning an origin story of Willy Wonka with Timothée Chalamet in it. And so Ben, we're going to start us off and come on, let us know your thoughts. How'd you feel?
I had fun. This was one that Gwen and I took our daughter to. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much she enjoyed it. I mean, Laura's really funny because 90% of what you ask her, what did you think? She does this. So I would give it better than I appreciated that they didn't do anything to try to top the OG film with Wilder. Yeah. And by that, I mean, they didn't try to layer on the comedy real thick because I think they knew they couldn't compete with that. No. And so what they end up doing is going more sentimental with it, which largely works. And then, it's a musical. Mm-hmm. And that part of it, I didn't particularly need. Like, I think it would have worked fine if that wasn't part of it. Yeah. It felt forced to the point where they were just trying to get me to forget about the Gene Wilder original film by making it so different that I wouldn't run a comparison, but I still was. Mm-hmm. And then as far as the Tim Burton remake, there are aspects of it that I like, but as a whole, I don't particularly care for it. Although I will say that the best scene in that particular film is the singing like puppets that burn and melt. Yeah. So that's the only thing I'll mention with that movie. Yeah, this is decent. It's entertaining. It's fun. It's well shot. It's beautiful. The production designer just crushes it. It's a very beautiful movie, but it's just why? Yeah. Why do we need this? Very true. And I am probably a little bit different than you. I'm lower than not above. Like, I'm like, it was at best. In my opinion. Now, I did walk in not realizing it was a musical, so I was very surprised by that. And I 100% will say the 71 Gene Wilder, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is not a musical. There are songs being sung in it, but it is not a musical in the same sense that this is. I didn't have any problems with Chalamet as Wonka. I liked kind of his take. I liked his look. He had enough of that kind of a little bit of craziness that Wilder has, and so I could kind of see the transition. Now, he definitely was way nicer than Gene Wilder's character. Like, Gene Wilder had kind of a little bit of that crazy, but also like maliciousness is not the right word, but impishness maybe. Like, kind of like, I'm doing this for my own fun, but it may actually not be great for you. Like, I couldn't see Chalamet's character, giving Blueberry Girl, like, turn her huge or whatever, or let a guy fall into his, chocolate river and not care. Like, that would be an interesting transition because he is so nice, so sweet, much like his chocolate, that like, that's a hard turn. And there's really, in this film, doesn't show that. So like, it's definitely a different universe, and the production design was great. Like the sets were cool to look at, but it was definitely more fantastical than even the Gene Wilder 71 one. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about Burton. Burton's his own thing. Not going to live in this realm. But if these were supposed to be tied, I didn't see the connection. I didn't really. So I walked away. I thought it was really long. It needed to cut a good 20 to 25 minutes, I think, from it, which is hard because there wasn't so much, and a lot of jokes didn't really land at some point. I did really like Olivia Colman's character and like that kind of the thing as the Bleacher and Scrub or whatever. And that was the one song I actually did. The Scrub song I kind of enjoyed. That was fun. But the rest of them, wasn't good. So though this was not my cup of tea, but there's nothing in it that I can say was done terribly. Like, it wasn't horrible. Like, it wasn't like, oh, here are the glaring reasons why it didn't work. It just didn't resonate with me. Yeah,
how much of this do we want to play spoiler on? I mean, do we care? Like,
I mean, we're not gonna. I mean, I'm definitely not gonna be telling people to need to rush out and watch this. So I'm totally okay playing spoiler.
I just didn't know how much we wanted to divulge plot wise. I will say, and I won't say the character for the sake of not spoiling, but I am encouraged in this politically correct world we live in of the return of the fat joke in this movie and a recurring fat joke. And that a major character gets successfully larger and larger throughout the film. And that was fairly funny.
I was gonna say that's the only part of that character I actually enjoyed. The rest of his role, I was it was a throwaway.
I wonder why they even cast him in it, to be honest.
But it felt wasted. So anyways, you were gonna say.
No, so the strong points, obviously the costume design, production design, spectacular. Mm-hmm. It's a really cool looking movie. Slight spoiler, Willy Wonka, to your point, he is much more of a magician in this movie than he is in the 71 film with Wilder. And so that doesn't really jive as much. Although there are, near the end of the film, there are visual cues that tie in with that movie. So they are treating it like a prequel in that universe. Like, I could tell that the production design was supposed to tie in that way.
I mean, and the opening, even in the opening sequence, you are hearing hints of pure imagination. The song go through. So they are definitely linking this to the 71 film.
Right. I think the direction is good by Paul King. I don't have any complaints there. I agree with you. The movie's a tad long. I think the story can be told in about 90 minutes. So I think you're probably spot on. It's like just under 2 hours. If they were going for mass appeal with this thing, I don't really understand the musical angle.
Yeah.
It feels really niche. Just this entry feels super niche. It doesn't feel broad audience at all. You know, there's a couple things character wise with bringing in like Hugh Grant and stuff where I can tell they're trying to bring in like a little older audience. And maybe I fell for it hook, line, and sinker taking my daughter. And that was like what they wanted, was like, you know, a family.
Yeah.
Because it is a very family friendly movie. Like, there wasn't anything that I was going, oh, I wish I wouldn't have taken, you know, and my daughter's 6. She'll be 7 in a couple months, but she's mainly just obsessed with candy. So like anytime that stuff was on screen, then it was great. But as far as the story and stuff and even the jokes, she wasn't particularly laughing. There wasn't, I think it could have been funnier without them trying to go head to head with 71. But the sentimental moment or moments in the movie largely work pretty well. Like, they kind of build you to that seminal moment at the end. And I was like, oh, that worked, but I didn't need 2 hours to get me there.
And at that point, that's kind of sentimental moment. It somewhat not destroys, but kind of someone is in gross conflict with the 71 film in certain aspects. And so it's obviously there's a lot of time between the two movies, but
and they're going to have to, if they're going to do a follow-up, which I don't know that this made enough money for them to I don't think we're getting another one. I think that was their hope, is this would blow up. And then, you know, Chalamet is going to play Wonka for 1 or 2 more movies, but his character arc, he's not there yet at all with a tie-in to, did it do well?
So it was $125 million budget estimated. Worldwide, it's done $534 million.
Okay, never mind. That's, I
mean,
we may be getting Wonka too. So Timothy's going to bounce back and forth between playing Paul Atreides and Willy Wonka.
And I don't want to put this on Chalamet. I don't think he's the problem. Like,
No, he's not. I don't like the way his character's written.
Yeah, I think a lot of it
he's
has
too
to
nice.
Yes, 100%. Like I was saying, he's missing that impishness. You know, that kind of Wilder had. I mean, heck, even that Johnny Depp had in. Now, he went a little bit more on the other side of too much impishness, or also maybe not maliciousness, but kind of a little more crazy.
He was just basically playing Andy Warhol, I think.
Yeah. So again, I have a hard time seeing that transition outside of maybe another movie says some kind of failures or some losses or something like that would come on. But again, so I think it's some of the dialogue. I think honestly, if you take away the music from this and not make it a musical, that cuts out enough time to make the story flow a little bit more. And I think it'd be a better film. Like I'm just saying, like, and it's not that I don't like musicals. I'm fine with musicals. I actually really like La La Land that came out.
Yeah.
I don't know, like 5, 6, I don't know. It came out a while ago.
Probably 10 years ago.
And so like that was done well. I just don't think and I'm going to apologize to the sound people, but I don't think the songs are really that interesting. Like they were throwaway. They really didn't feel great. And, talking with, my sister and mother, who they both saw it, and they're both big musical people. They love musicals. They didn't like this. And they now some of it could be, the whole Wilder thing because we grew up watching it. But I think honestly, if you take away this from being a musical, make it just a regular movie with, 1 or 2 songs. The Oompa Loompa song obviously needs to be in there. Has to be. That's a requirement. But it gets a whole lot better. Some of the beats work a little bit better, or at least the characters work a little bit better. But again, it's not glaring flaws. And this is some of the things that, happen so often where you can do everything pretty much right, but still miss the mark. Like there's still areas where it fails. And I think some of it's the dialogue and the writing, and obviously, in my opinion, the musical aspects.
I just don't know if it takes enough risks.
No,
it's it's a super safe movie, and if you're gonna attempt to do a prequel to a film with the great Gene Wilder, I think you just got to take some really big creative risks, but that's not what studio heads are interested in right now. So
no. Well, and you definitely have a cast who can do those big risks, who can have those moments. I mean, like I said, there was that one character who gets larger throughout the film, who I think was underused, super talented, both as a comedic and dramatic actor. Like, I mean, he can play both roles, but I felt just like he was just the butt of the jokes all the time. And I think if they made him a little bit smarter, I think it would have worked a little bit better. I don't know. Like it felt like the villains felt very one note and very dumb, like not intelligent.
Yeah. That was on purpose.
I mean, true, but I think you can make them so they never really felt that scary. I mean, obviously it's a prequel, so you kind of have to know, like, spoiler, but Wonka lives throughout the end of it or whatever, succeeds, because obviously he has to be in there to give Charlie everything. Spoiler for the 71 one, but hey, that's outside of spoiler.
The statute of limitations.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I just feel like a riskier script with the same cast. You're right. I think they're more than up to the task. I mean, Olivia Colman, great. Tom Davis is great. Probably my favorite character in the whole movie. The villains are basically almost cardboard cutouts.
Mm-hmm.
Kala Lane as Noodle is excellent. Yeah, but they didn't. I don't know if they gave her enough to really do either. I mean, she's in most scenes with him, but I don't know. She
was a little bit one note the entire time as well. Like it didn't feel. It doesn't feel like she changed.
It's the writing.
Much.
It's the writing.
Yeah. Again. Yeah. So that's where, I mean, and this happens so much when I think we've talked about on the podcast, where you can have the best of everything, but if you don't have a good script or good dialogue, it's hard to overcome that.
Here's the thing. Nobody's going to be talking about this movie in like 12 months.
Oh no. But we're still going to be talking about 71 Wonka.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, and then forget it. 5 years from now, nobody's going to even remember this thing. It is largely forgettable.
Yeah, I went with my buddy Colin, and he was really pumped to see this movie. Like, really, well, maybe not pumped is not the right word, but he was interested. He wanted to see it before it went out. He went in not knowing it was a musical either, so he was a little bummed by that. But he looked at me and kind of after the movie, and he just was like, "What the heck did we just watch? Like, this was kind of worthless, And it had been on the back of another movie that we went to go see that was really terrible. So it's like we were batting 1,000 for good movies. Like, not really. Like, we were failing miserably at what we're seeing in the theater. But
yeah, I mean, I think we saw this right around Christmas time. It maybe even was like Christmas Day or somewhere around there. And it was cheap. It was where my folks live, and some ticket prices there are even better than here. And I'm telling you right now, Wichita, Kansas has got some low ticket prices typically, and where they are is even less. So it's like for three of us to go, it was hardly anything, and then some popcorn and candy and whatnot. It was fine, but so it was good. It was good escapist fare. I don't regret watching it. I did expect more. I did know it was a musical. So I did understand that going in, so I was kind of prepared for it. I don't know what my impression would have been had I been going in blind to that. If I would just been like, oh boy, here we go. Because I'm not much of a musical fan. Although, like you said, yeah, La La Land I do enjoy. There's a few others, very sparing.
The Music Man, it's fantastic. The Robert Preston one, obviously.
Sure.
The original. Come on.
Yeah, the thing is, we're going to struggle to discuss this film for like a lengthy amount of time. Like,
but I mean, there's things about it that are good. Like, again, I think talking about some of the stuff, like, but I'm as I'm going through my head and going through this stuff, like, I even don't feel like they took that many chances in being artistic with some of the shots or other stuff. Like, it played, like you said, I think they played it very safe and kind of just tried to, like, by the numbers do this. I mean, there are some colors in it were great. Now, one thing that they did really well, apparently the chocolatier for the production, like, actually made all the things that they eat on screen and was actually chocolate. So apparently that was actually fantastic. Whoever was the chocolatier, she did an amazing job. And apparently, like, everyone was just like crushing everything because it was so good. But
all right, so that's really cool, but that does nothing for the viewer, right?
No, nothing.
But why can't they have a marketing tie-in where there's like a exclusive Willy Wonka chocolate that you get when you buy a ticket to see this film in a cinema?
Mm-hmm.
They're missing the boat on this stuff. I mean, and like you said, 500 million worldwide on it, it's pretty good. Now, it did have a big marketing budget, so I'm guessing that the true budget was probably closer to 250 or 260.
Yeah,
it's profitable, so probably do get a follow-up as long as Timothy's game and available. I don't mind his naivete at the start of the film, but he's a little wiser. But yeah, his arc is, and that is going to be spoiler. I did just kind of spoil it, but I don't care. This film's got issues, and they start and end with the script.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and they did a good job of making fun nods to 71. Like some of his naivete, you can see, like, he's naive in this beginning portion, but then when you get to the 71 version, obviously he's well versed in what he was naive about, because he then uses it against his own, other people. So it's interesting to see kind of some of the failings. Again, I think if, like, the dialogue was punched up a little bit, some of it felt kind of, and you get some of that with a musical. Like, you get some of that, like, hey, we have to push ourselves into a position of being able to sing about this song, or, a lot more exposition having to be talked about. It just kind of felt, again, like your daughter said, like,
Laura nails the review.
Yeah. Laura nails the review.
No, the other problem I have is the world just feels really small and closed off. Like,
the sets are.
Yeah. And now I understand the original film, you're largely in the factory, but you do get those establishing shots. Those establishing shots were kind of CGI heavy, and it just, the whole thing feels real small. I don't know what it is about musicals, but sometimes they fall into this trap where they just don't look much different from a stage production. And it wasn't that the sets looked cheap. It just, everything was really closed in. And I felt like that was kind of a missed opportunity to get away from the 71 version, or not version, but the 71 entry, and make things feel a little more expansive, because we just end up going back to the same handful of locations in this movie. Like, there really aren't that many.
Well, and even in those locations, much like you say, it's like you can feel the walls of the world, kind of, or how whatever your phrasing is. Like
the edge
you definitely
of the
know,
world.
like the edge of the world. Like you know, if you turn the camera just like a half quarter of a turn or whatever, like that. Yeah, you're seeing other stuff. For me, there was the best part of this, and I'm going to try not to spoil, but there was not a cameo really, but like a small side character, and the actor who is in it, I think, is fantastic. Who plays Father Julius?
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look through that because it's not ringing a bell, and that's. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah, that is a great nod.
Yeah, it's a great.
And frankly, that whole angle was kind of funny, to be honest.
Yes, I thought that was really funny.
That there's some good legit humor in that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that the screenwriter or the director really wanted to commit. I thought. Is it? Did King write the script as well?
I know King is. So he helped write the screenplay, and he was the one who did the story. So he.
Okay, so no, it is. We're gonna bang on Paul King here because I don't feel like they really wanted to commit to targeting a specific audience for this film. Like it feels like it's trying to be all things to all people. It's not like classically a children's film, and then it's got stuff that's trying to play to adults, but it's like 50-50 on both fronts, which I personally think is a mistake. Like I think you commit to making a children's film and then you pepper enough in for adults, or you make
an adult
this for adults and pepper enough stuff to entertain a kid, which I think the original is like really good at.
It's kind of like what we talked about when we discussed Princess Bride, and you also brought up Shrek, where these are decidedly adult films with enough stuff in it to make kids interested or think it's a movie for them, but it's really kind of not. Or either the Disney side of things where it's a kids movie, but they, like you said, sprinkle enough in. And I think one of the other things too is that it doesn't go either far enough in either direction too. Like it's this kind of weird middle ground where it's not an overly adult film, but it's not overly a kid film, kind of like what you're saying, that's 50-50 split. But it lands somewhere in the ether world of like, nobody cares. Like this is,
it does have an audience though. Cause once you cast Timothée Chalamet, the teenage girls will show up. Mm-hmm. He's in the stage of his career, like when DiCaprio was that age.
Oh yeah.
And the girls would flock to see those films repeatedly early in his career, because it's him. And Chalamet's career trajectories in some ways similar, in some ways not. Leo would have never, I don't think, taken a role like Dune early in his career, but and I'm glad Chalamet has, and getting very excited as I see more and more trailers for Dune Part 2. But
and he definitely wouldn't have done something like, I guess he did Man in the Iron Mask, but I was gonna say he wouldn't do something like King that Chalamet did.
No.
So,
but yeah, this is kind of the guy that is whose career trajectory is looking a little bit similar. I think it's him, and then like Austin Butler are kind of the two of that age, that kind of two it guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has a built-in audience. I guess it didn't matter what the script really was, because
but I don't think like you said, I don't think you're going to get the same kind of, like, people saw Titanic dozens of times. Like the teenage girl saw Titanic dozens, or Romeo and Juliet. This doesn't have that romance. This doesn't have that woo that I think, like, they're going to go see it maybe once, maybe twice, but they're not going to see it 7, 8, 9, 10 times.
No,
and I think that's, that's where it's being, where it's still not going to do great, or sorry, well, it kind of did. I mean, $534 million. But how much of that is, people like us who are like, oh, hey, like it's a, Wonka film.
Gwen was,
let's see what they did. Yeah, like Gene Wilder, like, I love that film. Let's take a look. Let's go and see it. And then we walk out disappointed, but they still got our money.
Yeah, Gwen and I came out saying, oh, that was a fun watch, but I don't need to watch it again. I won't. And it's not a huge knock on it. It just isn't. I don't think it offers much in a repeat viewing.
No,
so
just let me watch Gene Wilder's version again,
which we watch all the time. Like Laura loves that movie.
And again, it's not that I have this problem with Chalamet as Wonka. Like that's not the issue. I want to stress that out. It's not that I can't get over the fact that he can't be Gene Wilder. I mean, he can't be Gene Wilder, but
no, and I appreciate they weren't really trying to make him.
No,
and he didn't need to do that. But I wanted to, I'm with you. I wanted to see those little glimpses of like the little devil, devilishness that Wilder has. Especially in that boat sequence in the original is 71, which is just fantastic. But we'll save that conversation for another day on the OG Willy Wonka film. I mean, the title of this being Wonka and the other one's what? Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Yeah.
And the fact that this is just Wonka, it's kind of how I feel about it. It's like, it's that much less than Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's like you see that up next to just Wonka.
So if you love this movie, great. Enjoy it. But I think decidedly the two of us were unimpressed with it.
Yeah. And this isn't, again, these aren't traditional movie reviews. These are more of just discussions that we have. So if you love it, I'm glad you love it. If you loathe it, we're probably
glad.
I'm probably halfway between love it and loathe it. I'm just kind of decidedly like, it was one of the movies released in 2023.
It's one. Now, I mean, on IMDb, it does have a 7.2. So there's definitely some people who, way too high.
That's way too high.
I mean, it's only 79,000 people have voted, but like some people must really like it.
The Chalamet followers have flooded. All 79,000 of them. All right. You got any final words of wisdom on Wonka?
Absolutely not. No,
me neither. We're going to wrap this episode up. We appreciate everybody listening to the podcast. Not all of our podcast episodes can be winners. And just like this film, can't always be a winner.
Well done. Well played.
But we appreciate you tuning in, and we will be back with another movie, maybe perhaps next week that we like a bit more than this one. But until then, we're signing off.
Thanks, everybody.